let's move straight across to Toni Balažič. Tell us about Panvita.
Well,
tell us about whatever you want. But
well, actually, Panvita is a food company, one of the leading in Slovenia, and I've been working in the food industry and retail industry for the last 25 years. That's why I, throughout the history, I became a big believer in the data and connecting data to the decision-making process. And today I wanted to use this opportunity to share with you my views on really using the data into decision-making process, because I do believe this is one of the key things in the, let's say, management development. But let me start first with the history. So at the beginning of my career, I was actually the opposite of using the hard data. So I started my career in communication. Communication is connected with vision, mission, values, branding, and so on. Not really connected to the hard data. But when I was 25 years old, I became marketing director of Petrol. Petrol was the biggest company in Slovenia, a retail company. And I was basically 20 years younger as the youngest manager there. And in order to cope with them into the discussions, you have to have the authority. And in order to get the authority, you basically have three sources. So either you have the power, either, you have the charisma, which I didn't have at that time. And the third one is the facts, the knowledge. So as kind of a 25 years old manager, I really had to invest a lot of time in order to build the knowledge and, build the processes in order to persuade the older managers with the charisma and the power to change their behavior. And throughout the years, I succeeded in that, and some learnings I got from that journey I actually want to share with you. So what are, for me, the 5 key learnings, how to basically implement the data into the decision-making process. So it all starts with the people, of course. And it starts with the knowledge, with the know-how. I do think that we have the problem here in the region because our education is mostly based on ex cathedra, so kind of an old Austro-Hungarian empire style of education, where you are educated in a way that you certainly know specific subjects, but you do not have the knowledge how to connect them. And in the business, I think it's very much important how to connect all the functions, how to connect the data from the market to the P&Ls to the balance sheet, really understand the impact of the consumer innovation, like we saw before, investment in the innovation, the impact on the P&L and so on. And this is something you actually learn outside. I've learned that basically on the executive courses on the business schools in France, the United States, and so on. And these are things, it starts really with the people and the knowledge. And since you have such a high share of young people, I do think that you have to invest in them, into the training, into the education. Second, I think it's about the system and the IT. Everybody is speaking about the software, the IT solutions, and so on. But the problem is that in the companies, you basically invest in the IT sporadically. So whatever you need, you buy. And then there is a problem of interconnecting all those systems. I just had a discussion with one company a couple of days ago, a retailer. It has basically 120 IT solutions in the company which are not interconnected. So in order to really have efficient use of data, you have to have kind of a vision and a strategy for the IT and the systems. It's really, really, really important. And most of the companies actually forget about that. So really spend sometimes some money, some investment, also discussing the strategy and the right vision for the next 10 years in order to be able to have the right support with the data. The third thing is, are the processes. So you have to have kind of a processes the management processes which include the data. So that, let's say, the simple cycle which all the functions, all the people, all the managers have to follow has to be, you know, it always starts with the analysis, go to the strategy, go to the quantification of the goals, go to the implementation, and what is the most important thing, it ends with evaluation and the KPIs. A lot of the time, companies forget about really quantifying the processes and really defining KPIs in order to be able to compare the processes among each other. The fourth thing is the user friendliness. In order to really create the culture, and I will use that word later on, again, you have to have systems which are user-friendly. So most of the companies basically have departments which create lots of reports, hundreds of reports, with lots of data. But at the end of the day, most of the reports are not read, and most of the data are not used. Why? Because they are produced by somebody else, not by the users themselves. So that's why you have to create the systems which are actually used by users themselves. That will involve them, that will create commitment, that will create empowerment of the data, which I think is really, really, really crucial. And as I said at the beginning, it starts with the people and it ends with the people. It ends with the culture. Here in Balkan, I think we tend to be less structured, more emotional. We have so-called Gazda culture. You know, Gazda, it's kind of a common word in our region. It's hard to translate actually Gazda, but I think most of the people know what Gazda is. It's the owner, but it's more than the owner. So it's somewhere between the owner and the god. Yeah. And this is okay because companies need strong leader, but strong leader actually can't create the culture which is not open enough. So in order to really use the data and enable your colleagues to become really super efficient, you have to enable them, empower them. You have to give them the power and the freedom to speak. Also freedom to make mistakes. I think it's really important that you create a culture which not only uses or supports the use of the data, but which actually supports the experimentation. I think experimentation is really necessary in the modern business culture. Plus, it's really important that you do not only share success stories, but also share the failures. This is not common in our region. This is not common in our culture, but this is truly, truly important to be able to have such an open culture that people are really comfortable enough to share all the experiences. Because for the companies, repeating the mistakes is actually the most expensive exercise. Also doing experiments on the market without really using the data before is also extremely expensive. So that's why those are my 5 takeaways, how to really create kind of companies or environment which support the use of the data. We are now trying to implement that with my colleagues at Viva Fresh store. And I actually had the privilege to really get to know, let's say, your market, your country, your people, and I must say that I'm really totally enthusiastic about your country. I mean, I haven't seen such an entrepreneurial spirit and the energy for many, many years. We had that in Slovenia maybe 30 years ago, but we became kind of a complacent. You have such a powerful energy that I truly believe that you will be a superstar. So if you combine your energy with the knowledge and the data, you will really be the superstar of the Balkan. So thank you.
Thank you. You got quite an enthusiastic round of applause there. I wonder why. I can't figure that out at all. You obviously had something that was popular. Okay, we have time for a couple of questions. I am going to give a final opportunity to all of you to put a question to our panel. So if you have a question, refine it, prepare it, and I'll give you an opportunity to ask it in a second. But before that happens, I have a question of my own. Couple of quick questions. Let's try and be quick fire with our answers. The first one is about, I mean, you mentioned, Toni, the importance of integrating data into decision making. I love data. We use a lot of data where I work, but I have a sneaky suspicion that people, once you offer them the opportunity of using data, they can lean on it and give it a little bit more credibility than sometimes it deserves. So there is this question of data quality, garbage in, garbage out, as they used to say in computing. How close are we to having good, reliable data and knowing that we've got it? And what barriers are that we could overcome to, in this region in particular, to make sure that the data we have available is of high quality? You first, Toni.
Yeah, I think when we speak about the macroeconomical data, statistical data, financial data, I think it's close to reality. It's not really, it's easy to interpret. We understand what's the meaning of it and so on. But the problem is the closer we come to the behavior, so the social part of the data, so how to interpret the behavior of the society or the individual, the harder it gets to really understand what a certain information actually means. I think in certain companies or in certain industries we do have too much data. So if you look at the retail, for example, in retail you basically don't have thousands of data, you don't have 10,000s of data, you have millions of data. So how do you cope with it? How do you get the useful information? And here I actually see really the big opportunity for AI. So I think now we are entering the period of AI, and with the help of the AI, I think we will be able to start to understand some behavioral aspects of the data we are getting from the market. I'm pretty sure that most of the data really haven't been used in the past. Every retailer spoke about the CRM for the last 30 years, but in the reality, it was really primitive.
Are you seeing AI working today in this area, or is this something where you see potential?
No, not yet, but I think we will see it. So that there are many attempts, there are many startups doing that, but I'm pretty sure that within 3 to 5 years, we will have completely new management tools which will cope with that big size of the data.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'll just be speaking to a laptop. I won't need either of you two here.
True.
Spend your thoughts, please, here. Okay. Regarding the data integrity and data quality, whether it's a public source, credible source, whether it's this World Bank or Ministry of Trade, it's always good to have a double check and just to see also the methodology and how they have collected these data, because also from the data that we are getting from open data from tax administration, we need to really work around because of entering now in some technicalities of NATSE code, the nomenclature that categorizes the industries based on the activity code the businesses are doing. And sometimes businesses from 2000 or during the recent years, they have not been so concrete and to go and register the activity of the actual work that they are doing. So, and when you get the data from the market, of course, that you need to validate whether this data is from this industry or not. Just one example, if we are talking about manufacturing of beverages, if you see a number of, let's say, that we have 180 million euros in revenue for the manufacturing beverages, that's wrong, because there is also one of the largest importers of beverages, which is Coca-Cola, and they have a revenue of around 80 million. So from 170 million, you will come down to around to 80 to 90 million. And so yes, it's really important to pay attention to the data quality and organize the data and check for any anomalies, because we do this also for the data that is coming from the customs, and we validate those data also with other customs that we are getting, in order to whatever we present to be credible data and to have the quality that when we serve that to the business decision or any decision maker from the private or public sector, they can rely on those.
Okay, and very briefly, Spend, do you see AI in your business as an opportunity or a threat?
Last year, one of the governmental officials said that we are opening all the data, we are opening, and do you see it as a threat? No, we see it as a huge opportunity, and also we have started to introduce AI into our platform. We are one of the few companies from the region that are part of the Microsoft for Startups, and we are leveraging on the infrastructure being provided from Microsoft. Also, we have the access to OpenAI, and so we are testing in a testing phase, training our data from Kosovo and also from the region. So in the next years to introduce AI as well. We are just maybe in 3 months we will be ready to have this chatbot in our platform, so you don't have to go through a lot of dashboards, but you will just ask the question that you need from the data and you will get it right away.
I did say I would give you an opportunity to ask a question, so if there are any questions in the audience, I'm not sure you count as audience, but we'll give you your opening this time. Just go ahead and ask.
No, it's very interesting. Very, very interesting to hear. It's not working. Do you hear me? Okay, good. Thank you very much for a very good introduction of your experience, and also Mr. Ahmeti bringing good statistics in his presentation, which is very valuable. But also a question to you, if you can support the ministry to gather faster, to come faster to data gathering, to develop the parameters for innovation, as the Agency of Statistics is right now too busy with census and we really cannot wait. So how could you come to a proposal to the ministry to develop faster the parameters for measuring innovation? Thank you.
Thank you very much. It would be a privilege for us to set up a meeting and gather all the business requirements, and of course to cooperate with the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Thank you. So after the panel, we can have a quick talk. And
I think that is an extremely positive note on which to close our conference. I think we've just managed to do a deal. So, so excellent. And I think that's about half a point on GDP next year. So well done. Please join me in thanking our panelists, and then I'll officially close the conference. Thank you, gentlemen.